bring it back to life, back to reality, back to life. Your turn.
Oh, no, I don't go.
Reality.
I don't like the
Well, you gotta say it.
I don't know
There you
the
go.
words. I don't know what to say.
There we go.
I don't know.
There we go.
I don't know. I'll
know
just
what?
hype y'all up.
What you doing is bring it back to. There you go. Hey. Back to reality.
They can always say, where my head at?
Back to reality. Listen,
For real?
I said a joke and they laughed, and now this motherfucking time for the podcast. Oh! Hey, peace, y'all, and welcome back to the Black Hill Podcast, where we talk about land, food, and liberation. Ashley, bring us that, Ash.
What it is, y'all, it's your girl J Baby, and I'm back on the mic 1 and 2. We got, what you want to be, Dwagley or Lee Dog?
I'll be Dwagley if you turn your hat the same way my hat is.
Alright, we got Dwagley
My dog.
in the building.
Yeah.
Easy E, he's back.
Ooh, I like
He's
that.
back, yo. Easy E.
I like that.
Oh, shit.
Damn, I
Can
like
if
that.
I'm honest with you, I'm gonna be honest with you.
What?
If I can be Easy E, you got to be
Easy A.
A Murder.
A murder it is.
You know, cause she got on the you know what I'm saying, or if on the podcast
Oh,
you can't
I
see
like
it, but
it.
like the C Murder glasses.
I like it.
No
A
limit.
Murder.
Make them say,
But put it- Na, 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 na.
yeah, you look good. Hey, Lee, you look good too, bro.
I look good too.
God damn, you
Y'all
like
gonna
bacon and
name
egg challenge. You look good.
A bacon and egg sandwich.
That came from
I'm vegan.
that came from our ancestor, Bernie Mac.
What paid it for? One that got shot with the hat?
Yeah.
Oh,
don't even worry about it because I'm not him. So that don't even matter. Don't even worry about that shit.
Hey,
No.
yo, that's hilarious.
Because I'm not him with the
Yo,
hat.
I miss y'all.
Nigga,
yo.
I'm with the hat.
I know.
I miss y'all.
I
I miss y'all.
Yeah, no, it's good, yo. Hey, so look, so y'all, we back. We back. It's good to see y'all. Man, we ready to tap in. Today we're gonna be talking about perspectives on Black liberation and movement building. We got brother Easy E here with us, just named by Ashley. You wanna say anything before we jump in, Ash?
Straight out of Cherry Hill.
Oh, I like it. Crazy mother name Easy. So look, here we go, y'all. We're on Black liberation and movement building. Let's come in slow and let's talk about what we think. What does Black liberation mean to y'all?
Go ahead, EJ.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Easy E. Come on now.
Easy, I'm sorry.
Come on now.
I'm cool with all those names, you know what I'm saying? Let me
What
see.
is Black liberation first? Tell people like what it is first.
Should I give them? Would you like me to give them a definite, or
Yeah.
you wanna describe?
Nah,
it?
go ahead. I mean,
You sure? I'll give
And
you.
then let him say how he feels.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they probably lost like me.
Absolutely. So, okay, now I want folks to understand Black liberation as a political framework. It's made up of various Black radical traditions and action approaches, generally aimed to produce freedom and re-liberation of people of the African diaspora. Makes sense? So, when you think of Black liberation, think about liberating Black people, liberating people of descent from the African diaspora.
sure. I think for me, what I would say, you know, if I had to like put it in layman's terms, if you will, we think about, I would break it down first to talk about liberation. What is that, right?
Right.
And so I can't help but say, like, I'm always the guy who gonna like break down words. I love words. So liberation, right? Any word that got shun on it, I-O-N, means the process of. And to liberate means to be free, the process of freeing, right? So, or you think about the Statue of Liberty, or, you know what I'm saying, liberty and justice for all, like that kind of thing, freedom. So, the process and the process of liberating or the action of getting free. If you add Black to it, you're talking about getting free as Black people. That's just what it comes
Right.
down to. I think at some level, and I would say that I want to, on the front end, say that when we talk about Black liberation, I think, so when I talk about Black liberation, I like to talk about it by breaking down the word, right, and thinking about etymology. When I was in school, Ashley might attest to this. She tried to act like she ain't as old as she is, but we had Latin in school. Did you have Latin too? So anyway,
I had Spanish too.
Who were you?
Spanish too.
Pedro?
No. Leandro.
Juan?
Leandro.
Remember that?
Carlos.
Remember that? What was that?
Juan and Carlos.
Anyway, so etymology is talking about breaking down the word and where it comes from. So, you know, when you think about shun, I-O-N, it is the process of, and to liberate is the act of freeing something or people. And so when you think about black liberation, it is the process of freeing black people,
Right.
knowing that being black in this world, not just this country, we are bound by something, right? We're bound to whiteness, and the way that we show up isn't always appropriate in spaces. That's why you got ideas like code switching and all of this stuff. But beyond that, you know, thinking about how we as African peoples, you know, get free to just be ourselves, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I think about black liberation, that's what I think about. The process of being fully ourselves, being able to live out our dreams the way that we want to be free to just be our black selves in a country that we didn't ask to be in. And so that's what I think about as a larger kind of blanket category and concept. But in practice, I think it looks like a lot of different things.
Right.
I think it looks like what we decide that we want it to look like ultimately. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I say black liberation, and when I talk about it, I think about it in a similar sense that Brother Lee talked about with the definition, like black people getting free by any means necessary.
So not. Ashley?
Well, that was a learning segment for me, because I don't know what it is to be, I don't know.
But you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I do know.
yeah, so actually, you know what? I think, you know, Murder A, I think that it's not as complicated, right? We do know, right? Because the question is like, how do we envision ourselves being fully ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Not in a white, like Pac said, in a white man's world. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that. It's more like, how do we be fully ourselves? Not in an individualistic self, but in your community. What kind of community you want to see, and actually being able to do that. Not just say it and think about it, but building enough power to make what we want to see happen a reality. You know what I'm saying? That it's not that difficult. You know what I'm saying? Many of us, when we come home from work, be talking about, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Whitaker, man, he had his foot all the way up my ass today, man. I can't wait till I start my own business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that kind of thing for me, I feel, at least from my perspective, you know what I'm saying? We have freedom dreams.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Many of us have freedom dreams. So it's not that difficult. It's just adding language to what we do all the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And what our ancestors have done, and our elders, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, our aunties, our uncles, and many other people who are non-binary who over time have said, this is how I want to live out myself as an African person. That's all it is. You know, we do know what it is. We just don't use
Right,
that
that's what I was saying. We
Right.
know. We just, like you said, it's just the language.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I think about it right now, man. For me, it kind of makes me think about this idea, or this false idea, I should say, or this false remedy of like what it means to be free, right? Because I think there's this attachment of like, as long as you have money, or as long as you have capital, as long as you have the ability to move about and do what you want, there's this idea of free, right? And I think, I guess what I'm trying to say, I think there's that lack of understanding what freedom is and what freedom for black people is, right? And there's a big disconnect of how we've came to this country, how we've grown in this country, and the roles we've played here, and how we've been carried here. And I think we're at a point now where it just looks a lot different than it did in the past. Not necessarily is, I want to be clear about that. It just looks a lot different, right? And I think that's part of the game, is that it's the same system, just dressed up different every so often couple of years, right? But I said to say is that, like, to your point, Eric, when you talk about liberation and you talk about black folks freeing themselves and liberating themselves, what would that mean for somebody in communities like where we come from? Because I'm thinking about the average person who's just chilling in his neighborhood and really feels content, comfortable with that idea of like, I'm good, I take care of my family, I'm straight, you know what I mean? This is the best it gets, right? But not really an understanding of like what you're up against or what you really stuck, or what it would mean to liberate yourself. Right, and that's in any space too. I'm talking about any political space. I'm talking about any educational space, anything. Cause I'm trying to think about. We carry all these different notions of from our experiences with us, and those become our lessons and our morals and our code. Right. Those become our code. We start living by those things, and we always talk about undoing. But what does that process look like for something like liberation? Because a lot of folks don't even want. You know what I mean? They probably heard the word, but never heard it to understand if what we're talking about today.
Right.
Did you have something?
I had a lot, but go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. So a couple, like the past episode, Brother Jordan was on, right?
Yeah.
And talking
Yeah.
about political education.
Yeah.
I'm always going to start any answer about what it looked like is changing our minds, right? And I know in that episode talked about like revolutionary theory being followed by revolutionary action, right? And revolution is like radical change. How do we radically change the world that we in, right? And by radical, like completely flip that mug, not like reform it and change it. Because I would contend that a pile of shit, even if you turn it into a star and put gold painting on it, it's still a pile of shit, just in a different form. That's what reform looks like. But when you radically change that thing and you clean that pile of shit up and you turn that pile of shit into compost, then it's got a different purpose.
Right.
It's transformed its use. So I say that to say it's got to start with political education. It's got to. And I think that at least from my perspective, I think that the brother that you talked about who's content, I work, you know what I'm saying, I take care of my family.
Right.
What I would say, the first question I would say to, let's assume that brother's name is, Yasin or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, Yasin, you know what I'm saying, like, I talked to Yasin, I'm laughing because it's a joke, but Yasin, I'm talking to that brother and I would say, well, how long do you have a job? How long can you take care of your family?
Right.
You own that job?
No, that's real though. That's real though. That's real. That's real.
No.
But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and that's what I meant by the false understanding of like, I'm good, I'm straight.
And that's the thing.
Right.
So I would challenge the notion of what is good. Do you own your own labor? Are you getting paid what you want to?
Right.
Do you have the decisions to actually decide that?
Right.
You say you're taking care of your family. By what standards? Do
But-
you want more? You know what I mean?
So how do you break it down for like people like us to understand it? Well, like me to understand it.
In that way, right? Like, so if I meet the brother, like, I'm assuming that in this example, right, instead of, Yasin, I might be talking to Yasin, baby sister, Bree. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking to Bree, and I say to Bree, like, yo, what?
Nothing, bro. I was about to sneeze.
Bree, like, and I'm like, Bree, yo, like, I would just say, like, look, bro, like, have you come up with your own definition for how you want to live your life? Or is it based on other people's ideas? Is it based on reality TV? Is it based on what you're supposed to have? General notions of what it means to have the good life are middle class ideas.
There you go.
I got this idea in my mind that I'm going to write about, speak about, is that it is middle America or middle class America that is socializing and politicizing black America. I'm saying that in across the world. So it's like what we think about, when you think about what's the good life, what come up to you, for you?
Being successful and happy.
Being successful and happy. What does successful and happy look like for you?
For me, it's looking like being able to move about, create, and do what I want. It's really just being able to move about in the world without any restrictions, limitations, any of that stuff. Like I'm talking about, if I want to, build a business, do that. If I want to liberate black folks in whatever areas, do that. It really just, there's no limitation, no pushback. Like, well, not no pushback, but pushback doesn't matter at that point.
So then my question would be, in both of those cases, is like defined by what? Right? Because when you say like to move about freely like you want,
Right.
by whose standards? You know what I'm saying? When you think about like, all right, I want to
I
move
get
freely,
you.
I want to
Okay.
get millions. All right, when you get millions, whose backs is that off of?
Right.
When you talk about success based on whose principle? Right, so that's all I'm saying. I feel like that's the thing for me, that what I would say to Bree or Yasim is that, like, yo, like, you're not able to define your reality until you define your reality. But in order to do that, the first step, and I was having a conversation earlier with our engineer, Brother Jordan, who was talking about political education earlier, the first step to it is awareness. I actually don't control my life. I actually don't until I do. You feel me?
That's real.
So, like, I think from my perspective, that's the first step. You break it down by asking questions. I feel like the question is the most important thing that we have, right? Not judging nobody, not nothing. When was the last time you decided when you want to go to work?
Right.
When was the last time you decided what wages you were going to pay yourself? When was the last time you decided where you wanted to live?
Right.
When was the last time you decided when they was going to cut your lights out to do work, for your community? I don't know if you remember, but in the projects, all the time you wake up in the morning and it'd be like, oh yeah, BTE out there again.
Yeah,
you don't get
right.
to decide
Water ain't
that.
working today. No, real shit. Water ain't working today and shit.
You get what I mean?
You gotta
so
shop
I'm
at
saying that
Auntie
to
Jean's
say,
and shit.
or whatever, right?
Right,
Or
real.
boil the water. We used to do
Or
that
boil boil-
used to boil the water,
it's real.
and then you used to like, you know, everybody you
Yeah.
get mad at somebody for using too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying though? Like, I guess all that to say, like, yo, are we controlling our lives?
Right.
Are we deciding what language we're using in our community?
Mm-hmm.
What businesses exist in our community? If you don't, then what would it take for you to change that? You get what I'm saying? That's how I
powerful,
would break
bro.
it down.
That's
That's how I
powerful.
would break it down. And then it's like, whatever that vision is, and the work to get to that vision, that's Black liberation. Look, here is, at least from my perspective, and I don't know about you, A Murder, aka Abo. For me, I feel like, again, I'm gonna go back to political education, yo, and I'm gonna go back to what may seem as old timey stuff.
Right.
Spend time with people.
There you go.
Break bread together.
The real life how
over a
it's happening.
spades tournament or over a spades game. Talk politics. Cook together. Eat together.
Right.
It's those type of tactics that I think are necessary for us to build that.
Right.
And in one of our political education spaces, I talk about this organizing framework and what it might look like to, like some things to consider as we build Black liberation. I'm gonna read
Okay.
off this list that I created because I can't remember them off the top. So the first thing would be to establish a change goal, and the change goal is like, what do you want to see happen in the world, and establish that with your group of people who you want to have, you see that happen. Build authentic relationships. Number 2, right, where you got, again, you sit down, break bread together, whatever, get to know each other, not like as somebody as a utility. How can I
Right.
use you to
Right.
bring change? But more like,
Exactly.
who are you? Who are your folks? Let me get to meet your son. You know what I'm saying? Let me. I want you to meet my children. I want you to meet my family. I want to, come together. Whatever. Right. So building real relationships, not just based on like some artificial thing. Number 3, develop collective consciousness, right? And that happens through study together. That happens through just like asking questions.
Right.
Why are things the way? When I talked about Bree and Yosine, asking questions like that, right? Like, do you control your schedule? Why don't you control your schedule? Are you cool with that? Do you know that that's the way that slavery worked? People
Right.
told you what to do.
Right.
I know you get paid now, but did you that kind of question and really like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Oh,
Right.
I
No,
love when
for
I
real.
get that question. You know what I'm saying? So developing that like critical consciousness to be critical of the world that we have, because that is the basis for changing it. Number 4, develop a power analysis. For power analysis, it's like who got power. If you're talking about your workplace or you're talking about your community, who got power to make things happen? You know what I'm saying? And is their having power helping me, or is it holding me back? You feel me?
Right.
In some organizations like People's Institute for Survival Beyond, they call it a footprint. You want to know why they call it footprint?
What they got a footprint.
They say what institutions got their foot up my ass, right? So you want to be like, which ones got their foot up my ass? You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So you want to be able to see who's in the footprint. You know what I'm saying? So or who got their foot on my neck or whatever it might be. Practicing kofa. That's a West African principle of going and fetching. Go to the past.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You want to, like I talked about with Maroons or whatever. Who were the freedom fighters? Study them. Study how they did it. Where did they make mistakes? What did they do well? That's number 5. Number 6, create a strategy. You know what I'm saying? You can't create change without a strategy. I
Absolutely.
ain't never seen a war won without a strategy.
There you go.
I ain't never seen one lost
There you
without
go.
one either.
There you
right?
go.
So whether you win or lose, you gotta have strategy. You gotta plan. You gotta know it in and out.
Right.
And your power analysis allow you to say who got power and how do I use that.
Right.
Damn, if I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7.
There we
Build a base. Build your community of communities, right? So when you know what I'm saying? If you talk to 2 people and you ask those 2 people to talk to 2, y'all 2 become 8 or 6. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. You want to build it out and build your community around that. That's what we're doing at BYI. Develop leadership skills, because you don't I want people to be able to have different connections.
Right.
You want to monitor and evaluate, always thinking about, well, what's the pace, the pulse, and the progress. You know, where you at. You want to have fun based in your own culture. You want to make changes to the world, and you want to make changes and shifts to your strategy as the time requires, and you want to imagine a liberated world. You want to continue to imagine, what are my freedom dreams?
Right.
How do I make changes to the world? And knowing that people change, your vision going to change too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think, like, from my perspective, those are the things that you want to do. Make those connections and figure out ways to incubate
Right.
ideas and institutions. I feel like that's movement work. You know what I'm saying? Help to develop new businesses, help to create new ways of thinking. I think all of that has to be a part of our movement work. And for me, the way that I see it, we got this framework that we use that really speaks to, like, you know, getting clear about what Black land and food sovereignty mean, coming up with these codes, right? And the street got code, why our movement can't have
There you go. There
how
you
we
go.
act, how we don't act.
Everything
and all
must
of
have
that
a
stuff.
code.
And from there, you know what I'm saying, being able to build relationships, develop a plan, all of the things that I just talked about the framework for liberatory organizing, I feel like those are the things that BYI are striving to do. When I think about strengths, it's just the fact that we have a framework, we got a lot of relationships, we are not afraid to practice things. And when it comes down to weaknesses, I don't think that we touching all the people we want to.
Right.
Now the real thing
That's real.
that behind the cameras that we haven't talked about, but I'm going to break the fourth wall and talk right into the camera and say, look, for those who not watching right now, you might watch later, but we're not reaching you.
Right.
You feel me?
That's
And
an
maybe
issue.
we reaching you now, but that's a big
also-
issue. That's a
yeah.
weakness. We're not reaching the regular people. We reaching people who might have a general sense of what they want to see,
Right.
but we not reaching
Right.
folks like how Ashley always talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk to people like me who like getting into it but don't know what I'm talking about
Right.
or don't know what you're talking about. Like, we want to be able to do that. That's the point of this podcast. And then we ain't
Right.
trying to go over nobody's head, but that's a weakness. We
Right.
do. Because the
Yeah.
language we use and all of that. And while
change that.
part of what
It's
we doing...
uncomfortable too. You just gotta be.
No, that's real. That's a good point, and that's a lot of
Yeah.
reasons why people deter away from it.
Because it's like a new
Yeah,
information.
and that's all it really is. New and like you talked about in recent podcasts, actually, it challenges them. You know what I mean? It challenges everything that we've known. You know what I mean, to this point too, or a lot of what we know to this point.
Yeah, and I also think that, I mean, at the end of the day, one of the weaknesses don't have anything to do with us, right? We're connected to something that for a long time people have seen as just like something to either laugh at or something to be like, that's for them, right?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? You talk about power to the people, that's them over there. You know what I'm talking about? That's them power to the people over there.
Man, so that's some powerful stuff, man.
Yes.
And we talked about a lot today. Y'all received a lot of info today, and we didn't charge y'all for it.
It was
You're welcome
free
for that.
game.
But no, yeah, I like that free game.
smoke,
Let's
free
not take anybody's podcast name or anything like that.
Trademark it for
Yeah, I actually am a big fan. So no, but the reality of it is, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen for folks to be able to receive the information. Now, do with it what you will, right? Let it happen, let it sit on you, however, because the truth is everybody's process is not the same. Ashley might figure it out in the first month. It might take you to 2022. Who knows? Who cares, right? But the process is, as long as you get there and have the
As long as
understanding
you get
of the
there.
information that you receive, and it is not just fluff. If you look around, if you check your experiences, if you check who you've grown up with, you check your peers, you check your elders and how they live, it's all gonna come into play. So I said it to say, man, thank you for coming on, Easy E. I'm
Yes,
sorry, don't put that
again,
in. Thank you for coming on, Easy E.
Back in the building.
Straight out of
Crazy
Cherry
younger
Hill.
brother named EJ.
I like it. I like it. Hey man, and thank y'all for rocking with
Don't care
us.
about the he
Thank
said,
y'all for
she
coming in.
said.
Thank y'all for coming in and tuning in. We look forward to seeing y'all in the next podcast. And Ashley,
Yes, thank y'all so much.
we gonna sanitize that mic. Hey, look,
I wasn't even close. I was like,
no, I'm messing with you. But we appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Please tap
Yes,
in,
y'all.
like, share, comment, share with your friends, talk
to
about
us.
it, fuss back at us if you feel as though we wrong about anything. But man, just engage, and we appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next time.
until next time.
Black Ear Podcast, Land for
Real chit
Liberation.
chat.
Yeah. Peace, y'all.
And it was good.
I got
That
a
was-
piss like a
I
Russian
did too.
racehorse.